But sometimes, right, like my dancers, like they can do some random things like. Gotta go fast. Gotta go.
Hi everyone, welcome back to TDA's podcast series TDA Talks. Today we're going to be discussing about the highs and lows of choreographing a performance piece, especially for our upcoming concert Rhythms of Broadway. My name is Archana. I am helping to choreograph together with Gwen, who you saw in the previous episode, an item including our TDA juniors. So we are doing Frozen, the musical, and this is...
Hi, I'm Lecia and I'm choreographing Moulin Rouge.
Short and sweet. And this is...
Hi, I'm Nizam. I'm choreographing Aladdin together with Anna.
Cool. I think we are all, I want to say seasoned choreographers because we have done more than one.
Okay.
More than one, yes. We have received some very good questions from our producer, Chen Yan. So we're going to talk about them and see where the conversation brings us. Okay, so our first question is... so can you walk us through the creative process behind choreographing for Rhythms of Broadway? I think we can talk about our creative process in general and then also about Rhythms of Broadway. Lecia, you're doing Moulin Rouge twice, right? So is your creative process the same or has it been different?
I think it's a little bit different because the first time I did Moulin Rouge was 2022, I think. The theme then was movies. It's a little bit different in terms of when I'm doing my item now, which is where the theme is like Broadway. I mainly take reference from the actual Broadway musical Moulin Rouge. So I watch videos of them and I see how they perform. I take inspiration from their choreography and I put a lot of the iconic elements, like one of them is the can dance, into my item. So I hope to like bring out more of the Moulin Rouge aspect into this item. Moulin Rouge was my first choreography and I feel like I didn't bring out the theme enough, so I hope to do it more in this item.
Yeah, I mean, now that I wasn't in your first Moulin Rouge item, but I am in the second one, and having seen the first one, I have to say they are very, 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 very different, different vibes. So yes. I can see that you are going in a different way to tell the story. Yeah. How about you?
Actually, for Aladdin, I've seen like multiple Broadways. I've seen people did their interpretations, and currently I'm actually using one of the interpretations as inspiration. It's like the other interpretation is much more of contemporary dance. So it's a lot easier for them to express their movement. But for us, in general, we have to focus a lot of Latin. So I'm like thinking how are we supposed to make it Latin-like, but not too much contem and just balance everything up. And to make it a lot more Broadway has a lot of acting. The huge struggle is actually trying to ask them to improvise. So I have this specific scene where is a market scene for Aladdin. If you watch Aladdin, you know the market scene. So, sorry?
So, nothing, sorry. Yeah,
they have to...
Intrusive thoughts.
In the choreography, I told them, okay, you have to walk around, you have to act like you're in the market, so you can see like some of them dragging like maybe rice sacks, or they are moving in the most Arabian way, or they talk along with their friends, and then meanwhile we have one dancer going from off screen to the center of the stage.
No spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the movies. It's actually a lot of it.
So it's based on the same kind of scene happening in the movie.
In the movie itself, yeah. Yeah, and then
so the dancers you're working with are much more experienced with the choreography aspect of it. So the challenge for them this year is to do more improv, more acting.
More improv, yes, correct. Then not every music have these beats of the Latin beats, like okay, some do not have like a strong jive or strong samba or paso doble. Then they have to actually figure out how to actually be in the mood, and then they have to follow everything based on the sound of the music or maybe lyrics. So it's kind of a new experiment for me.
Was your creative process different for like Interstellar?
Yeah, Interstellar is just, most of the time I just think of a step. Does it structure the story somewhat? That's just it. It's pretty much straightforward.
So it's different this time around.
Yeah, I would say it's quite different.
Well, this is the first time that I'm not doing an independent item. So it
Beep.
no, it was a bit like almost of an identity crisis in the beginning when I realized that okay, I'm not going to do an item this year, but I am choreographing with Gwen, like I said, for the kids. So in that sense, my creative process is very different this time around because I know I'm dealing with junior dancers who have a particular skill level, so kind of closer to what we teach them for syllabus and things like that. So when we put in steps, it's a mix, like yours said, of Broadway, a lot of jazz hands, but also, like rumba or paso or jive. We can't go too crazy with like stunts or too much acting, because again, it might not be within the dancer's experience yet. There's a little bit of acting, but it's combined together with the steps. Yeah, but I think it's coming along quite promisingly. I think it'll be very cute. The whole Frozen item. Usually, for me, I mean, when I heard musicals, right? When I heard this year's theme is musicals, I was like, what's the musical I really want to do? Lion King. But I do already. I did it in 2022, and I was like, I can't do it. And then there was MJ the musical, but I do already. I did MJ the musical, MJ as well for last year's one, which was Icons of the Agers, right? It's different from my usual creative process because I feel like what anchors my choreography is the story. Like I always want to tell a story. My items tend to have a start, a middle and an end, and then a lot of acting. So that's the thing, because you would think that a musical theme will be right up my alley because my items are always very theatrical. Yeah, but it's okay. I think the kids are doing a good job, and I'm looking forward to trying this like new thing with the kids, doing it with them.
How much of a struggle for you to convince them to do the acting?
Not much actually, because I think they like the song and they like the movie, right? Frozen, like I think most kids nowadays, they know Frozen, so they're excited to be part of the item as well. So it's not something that's completely unrelatable to them. And then, if I ask them to do things like Happy Snowman, they are happy to do it. So, yeah. How do you balance preserving iconic Broadway dance styles with adding Latin dance styles? I think you touched on that just now.
Actually, for this year, my thinking is different from the past year's concerts. Instead of using, let's say, doing a Latin item with Broadway elements, I changed my mindset. I wanted to do a Broadway item with Latin elements. So most of my item is mainly based on the Broadway musical, because I feel like it will bring a new perspective to my dancers as well, to show them that this is how I envision my item to be. So I send them the reference video, and then I think like after they watched it, they would probably understand where I'm coming from, and it's easier for them to say, let's say I ask them to improvise. Wei Xiang is Harold Ziegler in my item. Spoiler. Yes. So when I give my dancers the context of it, I say he's the boss of the club. Then I say you react to him like how you react to like seeing a boss when you see like he comes to see a show. So then they all know how to react to it, and I feel like it brings out the Broadway element also of like reaction and action and reaction. Yes, I feel like this time I want to include more like, so it's not me giving them a fixed set of choreography. One thing that I told my dancers also is that okay, we have 2 bars, do a pose and improvise, like move around these 2 bars. So it's more of them like trying to explore as well, and sometimes they will appreciate it because like they can do things that they're comfortable with, yet like be part of the team. And they also like choreographers in a sense, especially when they add input into my item, they do bring out a certain sense of like uniqueness in the item. So it's not just my item, but it's all of our items together.
Yeah, I do enjoy I mean, Because it's not too long, it's just like 2 bucks. And you can
Yeah.
just do whatever we want. Yeah. Are you doing the same thing in terms of, because you all both said improv. I can't ask the kids to improv. I must tell them exactly what to do. At 7, your hand is here. At 5, your foot is here. You know, it has to be very clear for them. So not too much improv on my side. But are you also thinking of it as like Broadway plus Latin? Or
Yeah, I think of Broadway plus Latin, and also like because for me I'm Aladdin in the item, and then what was that? Yeah, so I'm Aladdin in the item, and you know how Aladdin is sometimes could be cheeky, and he's very adventurous in the movie. I would say it's a lot easier for me to interpret how Aladdin is like. But for the big struggles is actually the new dancers. Yeah, the new dancers, they had no dance experience before, they haven't done acting before, and it's like sometimes you can see they are just not confident, they are afraid to make mistakes. Yeah, but in terms of how they portray in the item itself, so I have 3 Indian dancers. Of course, with the history and culture, they have some Arabic elements inside. They are able to portray that easily. And then there's this one particular, he's not really a freshie, he's a senior, Kisha.
shout out.
Kisha. She has this personality where she's always blur.
Okay.
Yeah, she's always blur. And then apparently she actually put that element into that improv scene, and it's actually very natural, and it's actually quite funny.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, when you said about like afraid to make mistakes, I feel like that's so important for improv. Because even when you make a mistake, you just have to run with it, you know. Yeah. So, but it's good that you are bringing that to them also. I think they will overall still enjoy it. As an
Like when I
experience.
feel like when I'm a freshie and like I'm told to improv, I think that's quite intimidating for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
So like I know sometimes when I tell my dancers to improv, like the more like newer dancers, they will be like, like a bit shocked, and I don't know what to do. So I get.
Are there like quite a number of new dancers for your item? Or-
No, not for this item, but for my previous items when I work with my juniors, I think when I tell them to, okay, let's say for this part, come out in 4 poses straight, then they'll be like, need to improv. Then it's more like, I'll say it's a bit hard for them to come out with something straight away. I think for me as well, if you ask me to do like something on the spot, I can't really like do it straight away. I need to think through it. So one thing is that I'm not very good at improv. So like sometimes when I tell my dancers to improv, I also like,
We're all in the same boat. Yeah. Yeah, I'm much more of a choreo person instead of a freestyle person. But you know, it's balance. You need, as a dancer, you need both. And the like combining Latin elements with Broadway elements, I felt like was one of the most challenging things this year, because like Nizam said just now, there's not a lot of songs that have a very strong Latin beat that you can just Latin right away, you know. So I think it will be very interesting to see like all the other items as
yeah, I'm
well.
so excited.
Because I also got the privilege of like listening to all the songs, because I had to vet through all the soundtracks, and so it's like, whoa. It's like you can imagine and try to see what it's gonna be like. I think it's gonna be a good show. So just come and watch it. Let's see, how do you ensure that the choreography aligns with the theme and the energy of Broadway while working with dancers of different skill levels? For me, the kids, because we are working with 2 different classes, so they're doing 2 different songs, but they're within the same item, which is Frozen, right? So one class is a little bit more advanced, and so their routine, it has more complex choreography. The other class is a bit more of a junior class, but they are coming along really well as well. Like Gwen has been a huge part of this as well. She has a lot of ideas that she brings from her own theatre experience, and we put it together. I think it's just nice for the juniors to catch on and also make it their own a little bit, like they're comfortable in the step, you know. We include things that are explicitly in their syllabus. I think it's easy for us to kind of make sure there's Latin in it. Yeah, and the skill level is not that different because they are all in the same class. Yeah. So, but in the past, for example, when I've danced or when I've included freshies in my item, I feel like it's how you communicate to them what you want, which in itself is a skill that you can only get better with the more you teach, you know. So for me, the part I actually find most stressful about choreographing is the teaching, because I have the idea in my head. I need to download it into your head now.
Yeah.
Like how can I do that? And then so I feel like for senior dancers it's very easy. You tell them, they will kind of get it already. And then for the more junior dancers, you need to show them more. You need to give them more feedback, and I think you need to find what works with them. Like for some people, like you said, if you give them a story, like imagine your boss is coming down, then they get it. For some people, you really need to say, okay, your weight needs to be on this foot, like 70%, 30%. You know, like it has to be very physical. And then for some of them, you like need to show them a picture or like manipulate them physically. Yeah, that in itself I think is a trial and error, like dealing with different dance experiences or dance backgrounds, but making the entire item still look cohesive and not like I can tell this part is the freshie and this part is the senior, you know. Like to still orchestrate it such that it's nice overall to watch as what I assume most of the audience is, which is like a untrained eye, like as a layman person who's just there to have a nice evening. It should look nice. You are working mostly with seniors this year, right?
Yeah, usually for my items I work mainly with seniors or like slightly more experienced dancers, because I think like what you said, like the teaching part is difficult for me also. It's easier for them to get it and it's easier for me to teach. So like I feel that's why I mainly work with senior dancers. I did choreograph like freshie items before, and I think it's more challenging in the way that you need to try to make them look like their experience, not experience, but they need to have good. Okay, let's cut this out.
Performance value.
I cannot open all my when she's saying this. I know, cut this part out.
When you mentioned that you prefer to work with seniors, another thing I noticed is like seniors, they are also able to catch on to things that you didn't say.
Yeah.
Right? So when you do a step, you say, okay, you do a New York or whatever, and then you show them once, and even though you didn't give an explicit instruction, like say your shoulder needs to be here or your rib needs to be here or whatever, they are still able to catch it and replicate it in their own body. So I think that kind of observational skill is also higher in senior dancers, which makes your instruction easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes my choreographing journey easier.
I mean, there are different choreographers have different styles of leading. There are some choreographers that does every single detail in the choreography. There are some choreographers who just says, okay, I just want you guys to do this part. How about you come up with a certain sets for a number of bars, and then he will see whether it comes together.
Yeah.
You can have a choreographer who doesn't have an experience in terms of a specific genre of dance. Like let's say you have a different element other than Latin. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that he's not fit to be the choreographer. He's choreographing the overall item rather than just every single part of it.
Yeah. Like they need to have a very strong vision. And then when they see something, they just need to check whether it aligns with the vision.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's how I feel also.
There are some people who just ask you to choreograph and they take credit for the item.
Moving on. So, could you share any moments where input from the dancers themselves influenced the final choreography?
Oh damn, I love this.
Go.
Wow.
It's your time.
I think when I first started choreographing, I thought that everything had to be within my control and my vision. So when I choreographed, I was quite fixated on the small detail rather than the big picture in general, which caused me to like overlook some details. And like sometimes when people give you feedback, you'll be like, but isn't my idea not good enough? So like, but then over the years that I started choreographing more, then I realized that actually that feedback is quite important, and I should be like open in like trying out and like listening to this kind of feedback. It's like sometimes when you like you write an essay for like a good 3-4 hours, then everything looks like to you, but you think it looks good, you don't want to change it. But when you look at it with fresh eyes, or like someone else looks at it with fresh eyes, then you'll be like, this makes sense, and it makes this whole thing better. So I think it's the same goal with choreographing. So like nowadays I'm more open to receiving like feedback or like the dancer's input, so that they can be like, what about this part, do this. Then you're like, it does look good with the item. And like I will see what they do, then from there I will make like small changes, like I think this part you can like do this step, and add on to what they have already built on. It's like what I said just now, it makes the entire item. I feel like the experience of an item is important rather than just like the final end performance. You can have a great end performance, but if the process was terrible, then you won't have a good memory of the item. Then one thing I wanted to create for my dancers is that we always have fun in our practices. We can do things that we want, but as long as like we all have the same vision of like forming a great show. But sometimes right, like my dancers, like they can do some random things like insert photo, insert video.
Gotta go fast, gotta go fast, gotta go faster.
Yeah, so like these kind of things, it looks funny, right? But when you look at it from the big picture, it looks like it looks like it can work, and it's like sometimes like they have a different like way of thinking. But then actually somehow makes sense in the whole item. So like for my item, like the guys, shout out to you. I didn't know what I was gonna do with them. Like I only know they wanted to come in this point. But then like while I was teaching the other steps, they come up with a whole choreography, and I'm so happy for them. I mean, I'm happy. Thank you. Yeah, and I think it really enhanced the whole performance, and it's something that I wouldn't have like thought of myself. So I think it's important to have this kind of like
Spontaneous moments.
Yeah, spontaneous moments. So I think it makes everyone more comfortable and happy, and it's the experience of the item that matters.
Yeah. For like I said, for like the kids, there isn't so much of a spontaneous like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. I agree that sometimes the parts that you don't think about end up becoming like highlights or even like memorable parts of the item. Like for example, in my Lion King one, the part where Kiara, who acts as Nala and Simba, she brings me away, and so there's an entire line of dancers in the front, and they're doing a sequence of a Rumba sequence, and Timon and Pumbaa are at the back, and they are running, basically chasing Simba and Nala, right? And so Eugene, who is Timon, he jumps on Xiaoting's back as a piggyback, and then they run. And they did that during one of the practice sessions, and I was like, yes, that's what we're gonna do, because I was like, it fits so well, and I was like, I wish I thought of that. And like even when you're performing and that happens, you can, at that point in the choreography, Kiara and I are like running backstage to get to the other side. But even then, like you can kind of hear the chuckles from the audience, and you know that it was a hit, So I'm also quite open to that kind of moments. But the good thing also is that if someone shows me something that isn't quite aligned, I'm luckily able to point it out that maybe that's not so much what we're going for, at this point in my life. Because last time I'll just be like, let's do, okay, But I'm lucky to see that all of the dancers that I work with are nice people, and they're able to bring up their opinions or like their thoughts in a civil, tactical, nice way. And then if it gets turned down, they are also very understanding, and we still work together as a team very well. Yeah. What would you say is your priority as a choreographer? How would you know that your item was good? Like, how would you feel satisfied after you perform and the show is done? What makes you feel like whether you did a good job or not in terms of as a choreographer? What metric do you use?
What metric do I use? Whether
How long the process?
I think, okay, maybe not right after the show, but in my catalogue of choreographies, I would rate it as like how many times I will watch it after the performance is over. Yeah, like, I mean, there are certain choreographies that I will watch again and again, like just because I'm like proud of the item. And that's some just like, okay, maybe like once in a while is fine, but don't like keep watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that like defines how happy or how proud I am of that choreography. Or like sometimes if people come up to me and say like, oh, your item is great, I love the use of the props. Sometimes when those items that you don't expect like it to be like eye-catching, somehow the audience like it. Or maybe it's not the audience in general, but maybe like let's say my seniors, like teachers will come and tell me like, wow, this item is good. Yeah,
You're like, that one?
really? Sometimes it's shocking, but it's good lah. Like I think, be it like senior or junior choreographers, I think it's important that you feel validated so you continue choreographing. I feel like sometimes when we are too like caught up of whether the item is good or not. I feel like sometimes once in a while you need a validation lah. Like, and I think that comes best like maybe at like the curtain call. I feel like curtain calls, when your item is over, then you feel like wow. Yeah, I think that kind of satisfaction you cannot get anywhere else.
Legit.
I would feel satisfied when the moment when we step off stage, I will look at the dancers' faces.
Yeah.
If they have that smile, you know that we did a great job and they actually enjoyed the item. Yeah, to me that's the one thing. Like, because there are some cases where some of the dancers, as soon as they start off the stage, they start frowning, they start stressing out. Then I'm like, okay.
I need to change my costume.
Yeah. So like I don't think I've ever felt that in so long, because like for previous concerts, after it had always changed.
But you still do get to see their face lah, and just see how it was for them. For me, it's two things. Like, first, how I usually gauge whether I did well or the item was good is if I cannot choose between whether I want to be in it or whether I want to watch it. You know, like if I look at it and I'm like, I'm so glad I was in this, but I wish I was in the audience so I could watch it. You know, like when I feel that way, then that's when I feel like, okay, it's a good show. Or it's also how I feel when I watch other people's show. Like when I watch Interstellar or like Moulin Rouge Part 1, you know, I'm like, wow, nice, hey, I want to be part of it, but okay lah, but at least I get to watch, you know, like that kind of, you feel torn between the stage and the audience. Yeah, that to me is usually my gauge, like my test, my litmus paper test, you know. The other one for me is if it makes people feel something. So to me, it doesn't matter if, say, the people don't like, if imagine someone is like, oh, your dances were very clean, you know, which is good, but as opposed to, oh, my daughter was so excited when she watched your thing, or you know, oh, it made me sad, or it made me anxious, or like just something, you know. If whoever can watch it and feel something, then I feel like I've done my job. Because if it's just like steps put together, then that's not my jam, you know. Then I'll feel like, yeah, I didn't quite hit the mark. But yeah, so it's nice. I never thought about it like the way that you guys mentioned as well. Next time I also need to look at my dancer's face.
Actually, one of the more fun part of being in TDA concerts is when we have the full dress rehearsals and everyone gets to watch each other's items.
Yeah. I enjoy that a lot as well.
So I was like in Shane's item where that was the Playboy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the moment when the kid starts laughing and everything because of the goofy things that we do.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a very fun thing. Yeah.
I feel like the kids are indicator of success.
Yeah.
And when the kids laugh, oh, you know you did it.
For me, I think the loudest laughter during Lion King was when like Eugene, I alternate between Eugene and Xiaoting, and they just do this and I'm just like, and then the kids are just like, yeah, that was really a hit with them. Thank you guys for joining us for this episode of TDA Talks. Be sure to catch our upcoming concert on the 12th of October. That's Rhythms of Broadway. Tickets are available on our website, or you can just WhatsApp us, and all proceeds will go to YYD Education Centre, our chosen charity. Thank you once again, and see you next time. Bye bye.